This is our first mini lecture in the production and costs section. In this mini lecture, we're going to focus on what production is, and we're going to talk about the factors of production. This is material we've already discussed a little bit, but I wanted to make sure you guys had a refresher. Production and costs are the introduction to the theory of the firm. So we want to know why firms choose what to do what they do. It's very, very common when we're talking about costs to think about costs from a demand side perspective. So often students will confuse costs with prices because to you, a price is a cost. But from the firm's perspective, a cost is what they have to pay for the inputs to produce a product. The price to them isn't a cost, it's a benefit. Cost is a negative, price is a positive. For you as a consumer, price and cost are going to be very close to the same thing. But for a business, the price is a positive. It's their marginal benefit. There are two big takeaways. One, there are several different ways to look at production and costs. So we're going to spend some time looking at the alternative measures of cost to try to make sure we have a full understanding of how the firm makes its choices. Two, as costs rise, production is going to decrease and vice versa. You might remember this concept as related to the law of supply. Again, super, super important that we want to make sure we remember that production and costs are looked at from the firm's side. A firm is a business. It's just an economic term. Even a one-person operation would be a firm in economic speak. A firm combines inputs of labor, capital, land, and raw or finished component materials to produce outputs. And when you hear output, think goods, think the quantity that they're producing. Hopefully, from the firm's perspective, the output is going to be more valuable than the input used to produce it. There are a lot of production decisions to make. For example, what product or products should we produce? How should we produce them? How much should we produce? What should we charge? And how many workers do we want to employ? There are 4 factors of production, but we want to keep in mind that the production process is going to take those factors in, use them as inputs to produce an output. So pizza making, for example, uses flour, water, and yeast to make the dough, tomatoes, spices, and water to make the sauce, labor to roll out the dough, brush on the sauce, add cheese and other toppings, and then a box for takeout or a plate for eat in. And that's what the customer is paying for, that finished pizza. The factors of production are natural resources. You'll also see the term land used broadly to describe this. Labor, which is just human effort, right? So labor is, you can think of as the unskilled portion of work. Physical capital is the machine, equipment, buildings, everything that's used to produce the product. Capital would be any artificial goods that are used to produce other goods. Technology is the process that's used to produce a product. How does the pizza maker combine ingredients to make pizza? How hot is the oven? What type of oven do they have? That's also going to be a capital question. And finally, entrepreneurship. That is from an old French term meaning going between. So an entrepreneur is the person who goes between the customer and the factors of production. Here, the entrepreneur is going to be making decisions and taking the risk in producing pizza. So for our quick review, what's the difference between fixed and variable inputs, and what are the factors of production? We'll talk a little bit more about fixed and variable inputs a little bit later